Cards After Dark. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe, folks. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. We're here on a Sunday night. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is my co-host, Bo Brack. Dave and Dog behind the mic, upwards of already 70 plus here in the chat. Bo, where do we begin, my friend? How are you living today?
We're living right, my man. Just the day before tax day, and the Arizona Cardinals, I think they've got some accountants lined up. They've got people getting everything in line. They got the quarterback tax. They got the passing on MHJ tax, the passing on Malik Neighbors tax, the trade-up tax. It's all, they got everything, everything they can take advantage of in a potential trade down. They're going to have it all figured out. Monti Ossenfort crew.
Any deductibles, any write-offs, all that nomenclature, we're going to get it taken care of here. It was interesting. It was yesterday morning. We knew we were going to do this show. Friday's show, we asked if we got over a certain amount of likes. We were going to go live today, and thankfully you guys came through. We were excited about this show, and then there was a report yesterday that kind of flew under the radar, and it was Jeremy Fowler, Bo, on ESPN, and he went through a bunch of the teams that he thought were really going to be movers and shakers ahead of next week's NFL draft, and he mentioned the Minnesota Vikings, and here's what he had to say. And it really kind of left me, I don't know, a little confused, but at the same time, I mean, we're 10 days away. Anything's happening. So this is Jeremy Fowler via ESPN. And again, it wasn't written. It was on SportsCenter. He said, and you've got Minnesota armed with 2 first-round picks. This is the team that can be active. I've talked to several teams, and this is the money quote, who believe that Minnesota, at least right now, doesn't want to part with that second first-rounder, which is, of course, in the 20s. It's pick 23. And so, you see that, and then you kind of double down on what we heard last week, that the Minnesota Vikings didn't want to go all out. Here's more from Jeremy Fowler. They want to try to preserve pick 23. Preserve that, which could be tough to move up into the top 10 for a quarterback. So the feeling is they're looking around at potentially McCarthy there, one of the quarterbacks, but they might not want to give up enough to get there. So again, the asking price, we believe, at minimum, is 3 ones. 3 ones and potentially another pick. At the borderline, 3 ones. So that would be pick 11, pick 23, and a 2025 first rounder. For the folks that are hoping that this team does, in fact, hold the line, this is very good news for the pro Marvin Harrison Jr.
News. It's great news. I mean, Monti Ossenfort is always going to take calls. I mean, he said that much. He said they've got an open sign. And he also, followed up by no matter where they are. And it doesn't happen to be just because they have the 4th overall pick. They had the 3rd overall pick last year. And they've got the 27th overall pick that I'm sure when they're close to being on the clock and the draft dominoes fall a certain way and a team feels motivated to get to 27 or 35 or wherever it may be, one of the 3 third-round picks, Monti Ossenfort's going to be open for business. But as far as organizations like the Minnesota Vikings, who don't know what they're doing, depending on, what the weather is going to do on a certain day, they can't figure out which direction they want to go with the quarterback position, or that they could go and pivot any direction. They feel fully confident in their coaching staff and the infrastructure and, this, that, and the other that we heard from their GM last week when he spoke with the media. And it's just, it makes it easier for the Arizona Cardinals. If you don't want to meet their asking price, which is 3 ones, then they're not going to be motivated to make a deal. If you want to hold on to 23, then I think that just makes it simple for Monti Ossenfort, because you look at the rest of the draft capital from Minnesota, as far as this draft goes, 23 and 11 are basically it, right? Like, other than that, like, they utilize their 2nd round pick to get up into the 1st round. They just don't have anything that's attractive, and that you could say when Monty last year, when he was talking about the pros and the cons and weighing the decision of trading down, I think when you look at a prospect the likes of Marvin Harrison Jr. at that point, with 23 not in play, apparently, it's just not worth it. It's not the deal that's going to be made, that can be made for Monti Ossenfort for the 4th overall pick. It's no longer maximizing that pick.
Yeah, I sincerely doubt that the Vikings would then say, but we're going to give you our 1 this year, next year in 2026, right? I don't think that's happening. I saw some people float that out there on Twitter. I'm like, no, they have 2 firsts here, one of which is ladder. Like, really, the reservation that a lot of teams, and especially owners, have is if you're giving up future first, you pull a Carolina and you're a top, bottom 5 team in the NFL. Carolina, of course, picking first overall. Like, who's to say in 3 years, like, the Minnesota Vikings aren't terrible? Like, you have your secure pick in the 20s, 23, which is a nice hedge for you. Like, you're not giving up Chicago's, 2 top 10 picks this year to come up a couple spots. Like, you're not in the top 10. Like, this is the bare minimum for this team to do. Do you think it gives credence, Bo, to the people that were saying, if you don't remember, the Houston Texans did a trade with them where they traded out of the first, Vikings came up, and a lot of people thought that Houston did that to secure Stephon Diggs, and they instigated this trade with Minnesota. Of course, that's very trendy right now, that bringing it up, very timely as it relates to the Minnesota Vikings potentially balking at an asking price for J.J. McCarthy. Are you buying that at all, Bo?
It doesn't matter. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter who picked up the phone, who was the instigator as far as pulling off that deal. But as far as, where it stands right now, it's just 11 and what? 11 and what? Because it's not enough without 23. I mean, in 23, like you could set it, you can talk yourself into saying, especially with somebody available like Marvin Harrison Jr., it's just not enough as it stands. It's already a very polarizing conversation. So when you start to look at it and they want to, table one of their the 23rd overall pick, it's just, there's just not enough. They're back to where they were before the deal. Not enough ammunition to get up the draft board. I think it's that simple. I hope it's that simple. I just don't think Monti Ossenfort is gonna tantalize that. And like the idea that they could throw in a 2026 first and a 2025 first, like Monty's not going to sit there looking at the 23rd overall pick belonging to the Minnesota Vikings and say, you know what? I'll roll the dice. And like, it just lessens the value of the pick. I mean, we're talking about a first rounder from 2 years from now. I just don't think that's valuable in the eyes of Monti Ossenfort when he's sitting there with the 4th overall pick. Like Jim Harbaugh said at the league meetings, it's the first pick in the draft, basically, with the 3 quarterbacks going off the board before that.
Well, and if like you had a great interview, I encourage people to check it out at PHNX Sports here on YouTube with Armando Segura of Outkick the Coverage, and he's very much doubling down on what people like Benjamin Albright, who's going to be on the show, we believe this week on the upcoming Thursday pod. Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix are fringe first rounders if they're first rounders. Certainly Michael Penix. Like Bo Nix, I think the consensus right now is he's going to be a day 2 pick. So if you remove those 2 individuals from the equation, and we know sure as hell the Vikings tried to pub them up to make it seem like they had other options, you remove those from the equation, what options do they have? I mean, like, you're talking about J.J. McCarthy, who a lot of people think is unequivocally going top 5. Right. You don't get J.J. McCarthy if you're the Minnesota Vikings. What do you do? Like, do you take Michael Penix? Do you take Bo Nix as an overdraft at 23 because you get a 5th-year option? I suppose, but it doesn't make you look like the smartest of franchises to make the move with the Houston Texans to get the ammunition and then bulk. Because I saw Jeremy Fowler's comments. I'm going to put them up here one more time on the screen for the people just jumping on. So Jeremy Fowler basically came out and said that they want to keep pick 23. That to me tells you, without a shadow of a doubt, Monti Ossenfort went to Quessy, went to the people of Minnesota, and said, you got to give me everything you've got for this pick. We need 3 1s and we need some other stuff. And so to try to save face, and that's what I believe they're doing, they are coming out and saying, we really like pick 23. We like it too much to part with, which you and I both know is horseshit. Bonkers. It really means at the end of the day, Monti Ossenfort is basically asking for 3 1s plus maybe a future second, maybe 2/3. And Quessy's like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So now you're trying to save face, at least at the short term, with the hopes that Ossenfort is going to come down. I can't read it any other way other than that, Bo.
Right. And I mean, I hate that it's come down to this, as you said, 10 days from the draft, and we got this car dealership negotiation going.
That's what it feels like.
It is. It's just like the Vikings are sitting there. They're at the table. They got the numbers in front of them and what the Arizona Cardinals have presented them with the framework of a deal. And they said, let me go talk to my manager. Let me just see what we can do for you. Let me just see. 23. It's a hard bargain, but let me go see. I'm going to go chat with them and see if I can put it back on the table. It's just, what was the point of acquiring? Like it was the most transparent move. Their blinker's been on for the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. And I agree with Jess in the chat saying we continue to bite our nails as we're trying to figure out and decipher forecast. Are the Cardinals going to stick and pick, or are they going to trade down? And it just feels like this fan base, anything that's going to make it, tolerable for a trade down has to include, if it's the Minnesota Vikings, 11-23 and a future first. I mean, that's the framework. That's the baseline. When you look at the deal that went down for Trey Lance years ago, 2021, it was 3 firsts, right? And the Vikings, they don't have the luxury of a second round pick. They can't spruce it up anymore this draft. I don't understand why Monti Ossenfort would punt on picks in this draft and the opportunity to get one of the top tier prospects in this talent tier draft just to make a deal work for Minnesota. It's like Monti Ossenfort has all the leverage. And to try to do this and utilize ESPN and the great reporting of Jeremy Fowler, because I don't doubt that that's what he's hearing. It's just that if you want to pull it off the table, well, maybe you're going to have to give up your seat at the negotiating table.
Like, I'll admit I was incorrect. I thought the minute the Vikings traded up, and this, I guess, can technically still happen. We're 10 days away, thank goodness. I thought the Vikings were going to get this done end of March, early April. Like, you go up with that kind of ammunition, like, okay, let's try to finish this off, right? Mm-hmm. And to Ossenfort's credit, he's like, well, actually, you're balking at my price. I've got these other teams interested. They're picking at different spots. They may, in Denver's case, include an all-pro corner, or if you're the New York Giants, I'm only dropping 2 spots instead of damn near 10. Like, there are significant options, better options potentially for Ossenfort to explore. And I wonder if the Vikings are caught off guard by that, but they shouldn't be. Like, if there are truly only 4 first-round caliber quarterbacks, and there's about 5 teams that could use that said 4th QB, I mean, like, you shouldn't be surprised by this. I think they probably dipped their toe in and overcommitted. That's what I think Minnesota did. I wonder now if they regret not re-signing Kirk Cousins, because listen, at the end of the day, these massive quarterback trade-ups, do they work? Rarely, probably. I mean, like,
for Lance.
Yeah.
And especially when you're getting down the depth chart as far as that year's class. And I know it's in an inexact science, and sometimes, not the top 2 guys or the 2 best quarterbacks in the draft. But
yeah,
I agree. Like, did they diagnose how competitive it was going to remain? Like, they weren't the only team. Like, I felt if the reports are true as far as Houston instigated negotiations for the trade to get them back into the first round so they could pull off a future deal for Stephon Diggs. And they're sitting there and they've got this extra asset. Then, like, did they just not know what they were sitting on, that the rest of the league just was going to understand that it was telegraphing a potential move up, but it also wasn't going to take the other teams completely out of the picture, like the Giants, who remain to have leverage as far as being within striking distance of the Cardinals to be able to pull a trade up and keep the Cardinals in a position to get a strong prospect, or, the desperate Denver Broncos I saw somebody else make a great point in the chat today in saying, like, if the Vikings don't have 23 on the table, that makes the Denver Broncos not have to put Surtain in a package potentially. Right. That makes it even more competitive a deal if they want to get up. So, flowers to the person that put that in. It was very early in the chat, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but just great stuff across the board, by the way. The chat, fantastic on a Sunday night.
Crushing it. We're trying for 500, the big 500 here on a Sunday, Cards After Dark. And guess what? We're doing this a week from this Sunday too. And hell, maybe even post Sunday of the NFL draft if our wives don't divorce us. But it's a grind. We'll be
single by then. Yeah, we'll be defrosting hot dogs in a sink somewhere as we got an apartment together.
I did eat a Lunchable this weekend, and I'm like, maybe I should just get used to this. Maybe this should just be my reality. And speaking of kids' meals, it does feel like, as somebody who loves, Capri Suns, like, it does feel like Minnesota Vikings, go get your juice box and sit at the kids' table. Like, well, that was kind of my point I was going to. Like, you want to trade up, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, you want to play in this big boy, big girl league, You got to be able to put your chips in the middle of the table and say, we love JJ McCarthy enough. No matter how many picks it's going to take, we're going to go up and get said player. And it doesn't feel like they really want to do that at this point. Maybe they're having second thoughts. Maybe they're feeling the kind of Kyle Shanahan media-esque pressure that got him to back off Mac Jones. Like, people are saying, it's adamant, it's out there. Kyle Brandt's on Twitter basically saying, like, we like JJ McCarthy. We don't want him 4th overall. And you bet your ass the Vikings are probably in that same boat. They probably thought in a prior life they could get JJ McCarthy 11th overall. Just like Justin Fields went, 10, 11, Josh Rosen. But when there is a per diem, it's not a per diem, there's a surplus of minimal quarterbacks available. I don't think I'm using that term right. When there's a minimal amount of something, right? And the price rises. And when there are 4 or 5 other teams that are in the market for a quarterback, and you think you're going to nickel and dime Monti Ossenfort, and they probably thought in a different reality that 11 and 23 were going to get it done. And then Ossenfort's like, actually, I need a one next year, guys. Did you see the San Francisco 49er trade? I'm sorry, it didn't work out. This is the reality of the situation. You guys aren't going to nickel and dime anybody. Right. So it does. Put your juice boxes away and your Oreos and your mac and cheese that you heat up in the microwave at the cafeteria. Put it all away. Because, hey, listen, you thought in a division with Jordan Love now, Caleb fucking Williams,
right?
And I don't know, Jared Goff, who's in the NFC title game, you're going to dick around with Sam Darnold, and then didn't think you had to give up picks to trade up? Of course you do. Welcome to the show.
I mean, they're already in. They're already.
And I was looking for supply, minimal supply, not surplus.
Supply and demand. It's that simple. They're naive. They're like, yeah, we're going to get ourselves with our franchise quarterback. We're going to get a nice little starter home, and we're going to get one. Right. Like, it's going to be just about like $150,000. It's going to be a great interest rate. It's going to be good for the family. And then they look at the actual market. They're like, oh God, I guess we will continue to rent. We're going to find a great rental. And we're going to put, some great infrastructure around it and focus on some other avenues. And it's like, okay, well, now that you enjoy Michael Penix, he's going to be 24 years old. He's got 2 serious knee injuries, and he thrived with 3 guys who are going to be drafted in this class alone. So it's damage control has already begun with Minnesota, because, as we said, like the telegraphing of trying to get up the draft board began the day that they acquired that pick. You and I were live the morning. We did a special morning show. It didn't have to do with the acquisition, but it was topic number 1, and it continued to feed throughout the rest of the show. Is because it became very apparent that they were interested. And I think overplaying that hand and not playing it closer to the vest as far as who they would be in on, and for them to be like, yeah, we'll take Jaden Daniels. Yeah, like we could deal with Drake May or JJ McCarthy. And the rest of the teams were like, well, okay, if the Minnesota is willing to get in the top 5 for JJ McCarthy, maybe we should think so too. I mean, the Patriots, they've got JJ McCarthy. I saw the report out. He's going to dinner with the Patriots this week. He's going with them on Tuesday, I think.
Got a lot of Vikings fans in the chat. Drop a like, guys. Help us out here. Vikings fans, welcome. Listen, we don't want an excuse to dislike Minnesota. We shipped you Joshua Dobbs. Ended up doing okay for you, the Dobb father, the Pastronaut. But again, in what world? I don't like going off I see this a lot on Twitter. The trade chart says 11 and 23 gets it done. Put the trade chart away. It's time. I think we might be time to just light the trade chart on fire at this point, because again, supply and demand with these quarterbacks, everything changes. So if you want to participate, you can participate with 3 1s and probably get to the front of the line. There's no assurance that gets it done. And I would imagine that's what the holdup is right now. I would imagine the Vikings are probably okay with giving up 3 1s. I think Monti Ossenfort is asking for more. And I wonder if he's doing that, Bo, because maybe, just maybe, what did we say last week? There's a better offer on the table in the form of the Denver Broncos or a team like that, New York Giants, that may not be offering as many first-round picks, but they can offer Surtain and plus 2 first-round picks, or the Giants maybe give up a singular one in a future draft, and you're going down 2 spots, and you're still in MHJ Malik Neighbors territory. Like, if you're the Vikings, you have to put together the best singular package of picks, period. You do not have tradable players on your roster, certainly that are available, that would be of interest to Monti Ossenfort. You're not trading Addison. You're not trading Justin Jefferson. Okay, then it's got to be done the old-fashioned way. Open up your checkbook, get all your picks out. Where these other teams might be able to get a little bit more creative. And that creativity lends itself to Ossenfort saying, okay, this is going to be tough passing on MHJ with this fan base. We're going to talk about the MHJ movement here in a little bit. But what if I brought back Patrick Surtain? What if I traded down 2 spots, got a first, got Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze, and everybody's feeling a little bit better? Like with the Vikings, you have no assurance of anything. And I wonder if that's being taken into account right now.
Yeah. Look at this Baharo 3. Ryan Wilson of CBS has the Cards getting pick 6. So they swap 4 and 6. They get a second rounder at 47 and a future first from the Giants. Former Vikings GM Rick Spielman thought he was crazy, to be fair. LOL. So Spielman, who's on record saying it's going to cost 3 first-round picks for the Vikings. Baharo, if you could just clarify, Spielman thought it was crazy as far as the Giants pulling off that deal. I think that's what he means from it. You want to get to some of these super chats right here, Johnny?
Yeah, let's check them out. Damon Dog, we've got Charlie Sinclair kicking us off the top. $1.99. The Chargers will ask for the same package than they should. Like, I saw today that the Chargers haven't worked out in a top 30 visit one offensive lineman. And the rationale behind that, supposedly, Charlie, and keep me honest, is that if they don't trade down, they're just going to take Joe Alt 5th overall, which is pretty effing wild. Like, they've been at pro days. We've seen Harbs and company mixing it up at pro days. Correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie. They haven't used one top 30 visit on offensive lineman. So it could tell you that Marvin goes 4 and potentially Joe Alt goes 5 and everything else kind of falls into place. Would be pretty wild.
That is pretty crazy.
Giants get JJ McCarthy in that scenario.
Not bad. Let's stick with Charlie Sinclair. Chargers, AZ, hold all the leverage, no discount. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. I absolutely agree. With as competitive as the market is, no doubt about it. Nightingale Sunset, $2 super chat. If we ain't get 3 first, trade only Raiders Giants. Yeah, I mean, Raiders 13. That's still quite a way to get up.
Raiders at least have some capital on day 2 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd still have to give up 3 1s, but you probably get 3 1s and a 2 from the Raiders. Yeah. The Raiders don't have any NFL talent that makes sense for the Cardinals. I think the Raiders, you talk about a team that probably is destined for Michael Penix. That feels like the team. Like the Raiders to me, like they're not serious enough, high enough to get up. Their roster is in a weird place where they're like trying to win now. They've got Gardner Minshew. Like the Vikings team is tailor-made for a quarterback. And then we know the Broncos are feeling the pressure of everybody else in their division. Like I think the Giants, the Broncos, and the Vikings make more sense for McCarthy than the Raiders do.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting, like Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels just palling around on whatever streaming services. It's not Periscope. Twitch, maybe, like where like Malik's teasing like I know where Jaden's going, and like it's not, even though Adam Schefter's telling a Commanders podcast like buy your Jaden Daniels jerseys now, but I would imagine if he were to slide in the slightest, the Raiders would be the first ones making phone calls to try to get up. There's a relationship there between Antonio Pierce and Jaden Daniels back when he recruited him to come play ASU. Frankie, $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Frankie. So generous. Appreciate the coverage, fellas. We appreciate everybody, all 500 plus of you joining us here on a Sunday night.
These are unbelievable.
It is great. It's I mean, you can feel the excitement around. I mean, we've got Vikings, Chargers fans in the chat, but of course, the Red Sea is well represented here on PHNX Cardinals. People are excited about this draft and can't wait to figure out, truly which direction this team's going to go. But regardless, this team is going to be infused with talent.
They are, absolutely. And speaking of talent, we're going to see a lot of talent on display a week from Thursday. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Lots of great people, great vibes. If you did not get a ticket for the now sold out draft party and are hoping of scoring a singular ticket, we are giving out, I believe, our final batch of tickets later this week. We've given out 6 thus far. Again, if you're hoping, let us know. DM us. Let us know if you want to be in the drawings for the Gila River Resorts and Casinos draft party, which of course is presented by our tremendous friend, sponsor. He was the sponsor of our Senior Bowl trip, of our draft trip, and now of our draft party, combine trip. I mean, it's Coach Stark Homes. We're excited to partner with him a week from Thursday for your premier Arizona Cardinal, PHNX Cardinal draft party. Another super chat coming in here from Didi, $2. Rise up Red Sea, no discount, minimum 3 first. Cardinal fans, Didi, would lose their mind. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about this here in a second. Cardinal fans do not want 3 first-round picks. So let's just start there. They don't want anything to do with it. Large majority, I would say 90-95% are just like stick and pick Marvin Harrison Jr. If Monti Ossenfort thought that there was any reality that they were going to trade and not get 3 first-round picks, it would be a damning occurrence on draft night, Bo.
Yeah, it would be brutal. They're technically still single, right? They're playing the field. They've got people, women throwing themselves all over them, but they've only got eyes. The Cardinals fans only have eyes for one player, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. They want Marv. They want MHJ. They want Maserati Marv. Be catching passes from Kyler Murray and be that X receiver that it really feels like this offseason is pointing to them looking to the draft, especially at the top of the draft, to fill that void. Hollywood Brown goes on a prove-it deal to Kansas City. The Cardinals didn't see him as a fit long-term, and why not? I mean, it makes it easier when you got a 6'4" playmaker who has 28 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons playing for Ohio State, which is an absolute NFL factory, especially at the wide receiver position.
Charlie Sinclair, he's saying $4.99. I don't think Chargers Alt is their guy. They met with Latham and Fatanu. So Latham is in a trade down. Only visit with a wide receiver has been Neighbors. Yeah, I'm looking at a tweet right now. Alex Insdorf, who covers the team, has no offensive tackle in terms of top 30 visits. So those could be pro day visits. Those could be combine visits. We know Cardinals have met with damn near every wide receiver under the sun en route to their top 30 visits. And of course, was capped off by what we heard from Tony Pauline, a tremendous visit from Rome Odunze this past week. Speaking of receivers, Bo, I was on social media last night. I was on Instagram, and I saw the Cardinals put out this tweet on Twitter, obviously, and then they reused it on Instagram. And it basically says, we have 6 picks in the top 90, and it shows a graphic with all of their picks. And I looked at the comments. I took a screen capture if you want to check it out at Johnny Venerable. And on Instagram, I scrolled down maybe 20 to 30 comments. 29 of the 30 comments were, do not F this up. Just take Marvin. We don't care about a trade down. It was, and then not only were there comments, hundreds and hundreds of likes. Universally, it's rare where Cardinal fans can be in the same boat. Oh, we love Kyler. We don't want Kyler. We don't like Gannon when the hiring happened. Everybody dislikes Michael Bidwell. Trade Buddha, keep Buddha. This is almost universal for Arizona Cardinal fans. I called it a movement. It has become a movement. Right. And here's what I'll say. You and I are on the record. We think it's the right move. Take him. Don't do a trade down. While we think there is a distinct possibility for a trade down, we're very much of the position they should take Marvin Harrison Jr. Not to get too deep and heavy with this. With what has transpired with Valley Sports over the past 7 days with the Coyotes' impending departure, can we just get this city a win? Can we just get a layup, please? It's not going to fix everything. It's not apples to oranges. It's not a sure thing. Suns are playing good basketball right now. Hopefully they do well in the postseason. Arizona sports fans, we need to rally around Marvin Harrison Jr. We need this right now with the Coyotes leaving. You need something to hang your hat on. A new star in town. Again, it doesn't fix anything with hockey in Arizona. But I saw that this weekend, and everything top of mind going on with the Coyotes, and my heart breaks for the city. People who love hockey. We love hockey. We love the Coyotes. And it's just like, can they just not trade down? Can we just stand pat here and make this happen for the people of Arizona?
The chat is unreal. The chat is unbelievable right now. This is the Notre Dame head coach's office, and each player comes in and puts their jersey down on the desk. This is Coach Kilmer in Varsity Blues, and everybody walking out on them in unison. Hold the line, hold the MF in line, HTL, hold the line, HTL, all in, HTML, FL, hold the line from Ryan. We forgive Damon, hold the line, hold
That's my
hold
favorite.
that MF in line. I mean, everybody, it's unbelievable what's going on. Talk about a movement. The HTL movement is I mean, Coach Stark even had it on his promotion for
Love
our
it.
draft party.
Love
He's
it.
a hold the liner, and you love it. You love the passion.
Hold the
I see
line, fellas.
Damon popping his mic
What
on.
it's all about.
They wanted to hear from you, Damon. They needed it. They just wanted to hear that voice to know that you're with them and you're holding the line here on a Sunday night with 550 strong. It is I think that in this time, this desperate time, it's just like you're not just holding the line for a guy that's going to be a single in this draft. Like, this is the best non-quarterback prospect in this draft. This is a guy that's star ready, not just pro ready. And this is a guy that I mean, it's not like it's a double off the bat. I mean, isn't it? I mean, you're coming in and he's ready to go right out of the gates. He's as pro ready as even some of these guys that come out and take the league by storm. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, like Marvin Harrison Jr. has every opportunity to be that guy.
Isn't it funny? Like, even people who are cynical to the receiver position and how it translates to wins, like Dane Brugler just comes out and just casually like, yeah, this is the best wide receiver to come out in half a decade. And you got other people like our guy, Brian Baldinger, who believes in line of scrimmage play and knows how the Cardinals want to win. It's like, yeah, Marvin's probably the safest player in the draft. It's like even people who preach physicality up front, defensive, offensive line play, pushing people around. That's how you win in December and January. Even all those people, and this is a compliment to them and Marvin, are just like, yeah, Marvin's just the safest player. Like, the bust value is so minimal. He's probably going to make a bunch of Pro Bowls and get a bunch of yards and score a bunch of touchdowns. And it's just like, well, what are we doing? We can have this fugazi of, yeah, but we get 3 first-rounders plus. Okay, what do those picks look like? Who are those players? We don't know who those players are. We're hopeful. We're hopeful that if they go to 11, they can come up for Rome, who's not as safe as a prospect. We believe is MHJ. Shit, man, tell me who's going to be available at 23. Tell me when that pick is in 2025. Like,
not a sure thing. Not a sure thing. It's like, because you're not going to sit there, you're not going to trade down, and you're not going to find a proven commodity at an offensive line position.
No.
By 11, your first of 3 first-round picks, because they have 27, they would probably have 23 and 11, is you would be looking at maybe the top interior defensive lineman, which, I don't think you could say like Byron Murphy II or Johnny Newton, who's going to finally, work out for teams this week on the 16th.
Yeah, look out.
Are surefire guys. So, and then you look at the next tier of wide receivers, because you would assume it's beyond tier 1, where it's Marvin, it's Malik, it's Adunze. You're looking at, Brian Thomas Jr. that you would be taking, way earlier than he's projected to go, even though Greg Rosenthal of the NFL Network is like, it's never too early to take Brian Thomas Jr. But, you don't know. He's playing with the Heisman Trophy winner. He's got good size. He's got good playmaking ability. He played, next to Malik Neighbors, but he's just not in the same tier of prospect yet at this stage. You really do kind of water down, and not like in the most horrendous sense. It's not like, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a good pro, but it's not. Is he going to be a top 10 receiver in this league at some point? Is he going to be top 5? Like, that's Marv. That's the potential. That's the projectables you have for Marv.
Let's get to the super chat here. Dirt Bike Boy, friend of the program, 714-499. I need Marvs to save me from the Coyotes leaving us. Like, it's tongue in cheek, but at the same time, it's like Arizona, beyond just Cardinal fans, because I know a lot of you are here. A lot of you are in different parts of the country. I grew up not in Arizona rooting for this team. Roots back to St. Louis. Like, if you're here in Arizona and you're struggling with the Coyotes leaving, the draft is 10 days away. Like, we need to not turn the page, but you need some good to happen to this town. We need something to unify this sports city. Now, a Suns fucking championship run would do the trick. Maybe they could pick us up.
I mean, by then there's people are probably still skeptical. Like, if you're looking to take the town to take a firm grasp of this town as its
there's one move.
Yeah, there's one move to be made. There really is. And I think that's asking for a little it gets dangerous, Johnny, because
It does.
who would have to really kind of re-enter the chat that nobody wants that to happen, right?
The big boss man would
The
have to
big boss
re-enter.
man
Yes.
who stepped back, and he, after hitting the reset button and obviously having to navigate some self-inflicted allegations, all that stuff, but he's done a good job in staying away and letting Monti Ossenfort cook and letting Jonathan Gannon take over the reins of this franchise, especially the football operations. Like, I don't. It, hopefully, it doesn't come down to it. And Monty's smart, right? Monty's a smart guy.
Monty doesn't owe. I'm
Right.
sorry, Arizona right now anything other than to try to win games as the general manager of the Cardinals. But this is deep. This is deep shit, man. This is philosophical stuff. This is, this is deeper than just the Cardinals draft season. I mean, you lose a professional sports franchise. It's been here for 20 plus years. It's gutting.
Mhm.
And if you have a small way to be able to help fans maneuver that and to feel good about it, because I mean, we feel great about. I think this team's gonna make the playoffs next year, and so do a lot of people. And this draft
Long
is
way to go roster ways, though.
right.
I mean, like, the offense was in a good spot at the end of the season. Long way to go defensively. A long way to go, depth wise, to really navigate the marathon of a 17 game stretch. But the chat continues to be so strong.
I want to bring up a point though. I saw earlier today, and we've got it now. And I don't. You tell me how you read this comment. This is from Daniel Jerimiah. I'm not sure if you saw this a few hours ago. DJ, move the sticks. This draft will determine. He put this out there unprompted. The next 5 to 7 years, not months, years for the Arizona Cardinals. They have an opportunity to set themselves up for a really nice run. Now I see that. And as much as I am Mr. Pick Marvin 4th overall, that's not how I read that comment. I'm sorry. I read that you have 6 picks in the top 90. That doesn't happen every year, but there are years teams have 1 to 2 first, couple seconds, comp picks. Like, that happens. I read that comment, and again, maybe I'm making too much of this, as when you're going from 4 to 11 and 23 and then getting a 1 next year, that's how I read that comment. When you're parlaying the 4th pick for 3 future ones plus, that's how I read that pick. That tweet. Am I crazy for saying that?
No, I didn't, and forgive me, I didn't see DJ's tweet. That's the first time, so I'm just reacting to it live right now. Like, I saw that and said Kyler Murray's under contract. His extension kicks in this season. You've got your quarterback in place. You've got a strong draft class from last year. You've got Paris Johnson Jr. for the next 4 years under contract, and then you've got 2 potential first round picks and 5-year deals this draft. Plus, as you mentioned, the next, the other 4 players under contract for 4 seasons. So, and then, like, as a draft and develop team, like, I think that they're just going to be in a great place with young, physical, talented players that are going to be in the fold, just like that we're unfortunately used to seeing from San Francisco. Like, they get guys in place, they're ready to play early, and they play at a high level when they're youthful, and they're just as physical and fast as anybody in the league. And then they determine which way they want to go extension wise. And no, I don't see that as like, okay, that's him saying, hey, if they trade down and they get 3 first round picks and a future first, that's how they get to 5-7. I think you look at Monti Ossenfort controls this draft already. Like, pound for pound.
You believe that before the trade?
Pound for pound, they have the most draft capital and can do the most damage. Like, it's them, and then there's Washington, who's got some really solid stuff, and Chicago got out of the mix once they started dealing picks for players. So, Monti Ossenfort, it's good to be Monty, regardless of what he does. That's why Sean Payton said it at the league meetings weeks ago.
Yeah, this is maybe potentially an older graphic, but the top 3 rounds remain. Again, 6 picks in the top 90 should be 6 starters at some point, minimum 6 starters. We're talking about the 4th overall pick being Larry Fitzgerald 2.0. 27 is going to be an instant starter. 35 is an instant starter. 66, 71, and 90 are immediate depth players that work themselves into the starting lineup. I mean, that you think about it, there's only 22 starting spots on an NFL team or any football team, 11 on 11. So you can get, I'm not great at math, over a quarter of that, potentially almost a quarter of that in 6 picks. Now you got to hit on them, but I mean, pick 104 is going to be a good player. I mean, it's almost a top 100 pick.
But when you look at the draft capital and that Monti Ossenfort for a full season's worth, a full year's worth, has the scouts in place that he trusts, right, and know what he's looking for specifically. And Dave Sears has his guys in there. They're going to be able, and you don't need to find starters all throughout the draft. Like if you upgrade on teams, if you upgrade like the state of this roster, you're going to be able to upgrade at a lot of spots, more so than most teams that had, didn't tear the roster down to the studs the previous offseason. I see some Vikings fans in here. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just agree with Arizona Animals. Pick 35. I mean, we see players at the top of the second round every year that are first round caliber players that come in on a 4-year contract and do just as well, if not better. I 100% agree. And listen, I floated the idea, if you're not in a position where you're not getting your package from Minnesota and you're sticking and picking, like maybe they come up, maybe they go down again. 35 is kind of the linchpin, I think, for them to ignite the trade speculation if they don't move with Minnesota.
How about this? We talked about it a lot on Friday's show. David jumping in with a chat saying, as a Vikings fan, all depends on which quarterback falls. If May falls to 4, we'll make a deal. And I'm sure he's talking about a deal that would include the 3 first-round picks. And I tend to agree with that, especially on the heels of what Kwesi said in his press conference. Now, obviously, he's not going to tell you everything. He's going to be a little tighter lipped. But I think that there's probably – and maybe Jaden Daniels, I don't really truly know, haven't heard too many reports as far as Minnesota being tied to him or that they even think he's going to be there. But like if Drake May, because as we mentioned, JJ McCarthy meeting with the Patriots, Elliott Wolf reportedly likes JJ McCarthy. If they were to be so bold to pass on May and he's there at 4, we've maintained, you and I both, that bodes even better for Monti Ossenfort and the Cardinals if they're motivated to trade down.
Got to think that there's going to be a pretty good idea. Like we were 2 weeks away, and Jaden Daniels is a commander, according to Adam Schefter. So, like, are we going to be a week away this week where everybody knows that Drake May is going to the Patriots? Like, I wonder if we get some sense of that this week, because I think it's in the Vikings' best interest to know what the Patriots plan on doing. Like, if this is getting out to Schefter, it's getting out to teams. Like, teams have an idea, and like if you're the Patriots and you decide to stick and pick, and you love all 3 guys, like, why does it behoove you to lie to a team like Minnesota or the Giants or whomever? If they call and just be like, hey, we're thinking about coming up to 4, but we're waiting on the availability of X, Y, and Z, and what are you seeing from McCarthy? Like, I wonder if it's like we both feel like May's going to be a Patriot, right? Like, I'm not buying this McCarthy stuff. Again, I think his trajectory is too close to Mac Jones. You can't tell me otherwise. That's a real thing. National championship quarterback that wasn't asked to do a lot. Hell, Mac Jones did more at Bama than I'd argue McCarthy did numbers-wise at Michigan. Now, McCarthy's the better prospect. But again, carried by their respected loaded teams, whereas Drake May has more the physical tools that you could trot out there next to a Josh Allen or certainly a Tua and now Aaron Rodgers and say, okay, we have our guy. He may not be ready. We're going to play Jacoby Brissett. Like, this is all about JJ McCarthy to us at the end of the day. It's about McCarthy and what do the Vikings, Giants, Broncos, etc. believe is enough or maybe too much to trade for McCarthy at 4th overall.
If you're hold the line guy or gal, you're hoping JJ McCarthy. You're hoping JJ McCarthy. He ruins his dinner. Like he's awful. He chews with his mouth open.
Yeah,
talks way too much about his ex-girlfriend or something, and it's just completely off-putting, right? If you are team trade up or trade down as the Arizona Cardinals go, you hope that JJ McCarthy just nails this meeting with the Patriots. You just hope it goes well.
Again, it's the intrigue. Like, I didn't think we'd talk about quarterbacks at all this offseason, and we literally lead our show every episode because the ripple effect is so significant. And it's not significant to what we initially believed that, oh, yeah, are the Patriots going to take Marvin because they don't like Drake May? It's no. Unequivocally, quarterbacks are going 1, 2, 3. Are the Cardinals going to trade out of 4 and pass on Marvin Harrison Jr.? Like, I'm going to tell you right now, like, is it worse, in your opinion, for this franchise, public perception being what it is, to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr., or is it easier for fans to stomach if he were just to be taken 3rd overall and then you take a trade down?
Yeah. What was it?
You don't even know how to answer that.
Right. So what's the scenario?
No, I basically what we thought in January is very different than what we think now. We thought there was a possibility of Marvin going 3rd.
Right.
And now we're talking about quarterbacks because of a potential trade down, and Marvin's not even in the discussion to go top 3.
Yeah.
Do you think it's better for Cardinal fans' psyche if Marvin would have had that original scenario and to go 3rd overall, and then you trade down and say, no, I'm good. I'm going to trade down, get our picks, compared to passing on him now?
Yes. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Isn't that crazy? We thought we had two hands in the bush.
The emotional roller coaster we were going on is far different than the one we're currently on. And this is a slow death. This is potentially a slow death because as we're 10 days away, there's been all this, hype. There's been all this speculation, and they still hold on to the pick. They're still in the prime spot to take Marvin Harrison Jr.
He wants to be on the team. He's liking Twitter posts.
But before that, it was, oh shit, they beat Philly. Was it a bad win? They put themselves in for the long-term betterment of the organization. We disagree with that. The win did wonders for this organization. Matt Prater, he's going to get a statue resurrected for him for missing 2 kicks at the end of the game in the finale to set him 4th overall. And then you're right. You go through you start doing it's like, okay, who are the quarterbacks? Caleb Williams, Drake May, of course. They've been in the conversation since the beginning of the college football season. Okay, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy. I think we got 3 quarterbacks now.
We did it. We were done in early February.
Yeah, and the Patriots seem to be hook, line, and sinker on not, they were either going to trade out and it was going to be a quarterback-hungry team, or, they're going to stick and pick and take a quarterback. And we continue to slay that. It was the Reaper meme, right? We were going door to door, taking out people that could take Marvin Harrison Jr. and rip him from our grasp. And now we're coming to our own door, and it's the Cardinals could be the one that is the team that rips it from their own grasp in the form of a trade down.
We're on worst enemy. Tony, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Tony. Everybody drop a like on this video. Will you guys lead a celebratory toast at the draft party when Monty makes it official and drafts MHJ? Right. Absolutely. We'll probably have producer Damon lead it. We'll be live on air, and we'll give that honor to Mr. President of Hold the Line, Damon Dog.
We're gonna give the floor to Damon Dog.
I think he's earned it. I would be
honored
if he sticks with this. His little air.
Well, let me ask this. Damon, don't take this as offense. Sometimes I'll ask you a question and I just mean it. Have you ever made a toast before?
Probably not like a serious one, but I could. You mean this would be good. This would be.
Have you ever made a toast in front of 200 people about an NFL prospect?
I talk on this fine show all the time with our 590 live viewers. What are you talking about?
I mean, in person, raucous crowd. You could say anything and they will eat it up.
In front of friends and family, Johnny. Friends and family, the Hold the Line family.
Yeah.
I don't.
Your brethren?
I'm getting nervous about that. This is everything we fought for. Blood, sweat, and tears.
So the approach would be just keep it simple, right? Like we effing did it. We held the effing line.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of bad words flying for sure. Because I'm just going to be so passionate about it.
I love it so much. And I want it to happen so badly. And that's why I think it's going to be that much more brutal when Monti Ossenfort just gives us the old 1-2 and the Cardinals are trading down. I'm still very go ahead.
Like it would be the greatest time we hear the ESPN, the pick is in jingle when the Cardinals remain on the clock.
They traded down last year with about a minute and a half to go. If we remember, they traded down. Damon is a hero. He is Jon Snow. That would make who's Bo? Is Bo Littlefinger maybe?
How dare you?
Bo is easily on the other side. I mean, I don't know if he's Littlefinger, but he's definitely the bad guy in this scenario.
That's right.
That's insulting. That's insulting.
Bo's the little kid that stabs John in the heart for the last
that they hang the next season. Yeah. After they bring John back to life.
Yeah.
I'm the lovable redheaded guy.
Oh,
isn't Damon isn't he Hodor?
Technically he should be Hodor.
Yeah, he's just Hodor.
That's absolutely true.
I'd say when it comes to the discourse on this show, I am absolutely Jon Snow pulling the sword out of his sheath as the crowd of 1,000 horses comes at me, being you too. I mean, I'm absolutely Jon Snow. And Hodor.
Ryan saying, spoiler alert, Game of Thrones has been off the air for about half a decade.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that one. I'm sorry.
You brought up, Bo, when the Cardinals beat the Eagles this year and that pick got changed. You and I looked at each other and I was just like, I can talk myself into Joel. I'm fired up about Joel. Yeah. And literally, and they were
roasted. I'm getting roasted right now.
And they were beating. We all thought they were going to beat the Seahawks, and they were beating the Seahawks handedly. I was conditioned for about a 10-day period because we had emotions of not only are they going to be in position of Marv, are they going to draft Kyler Murray's replacement? Kyler Murray's not playing well enough. So we really have never had a period, really, where we felt sure of ourselves that Kyler's the guy, Marv's going to be available, they're going to take Marvin.
There was a short period, and I never let myself buy into it. We would talk about it. When we have daily conversations with the Patriots, things materialized in favor of the Patriots going quarterback. It must have been right after the combine. And
after Benjamin Albright came on our show.
Yeah. And it just felt like, are they really going to get Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because this is an organization we follow that doesn't normally get nice things.
Right. The best players in the draft that can't miss. He's liking all their posts. He's liking Kyler Murray's posts. He's liking fantasy football posts about what he and Kyler Murray can do. And then that faithful Friday, what was it? I think it was March 15th. Because I remember it was my son's birthday. And we're doing that show, impromptu emergency pod, and the Vikings trade up. And then you double down with Sean Payton and companies. Basically, we can speculate, but then when other professional NFL head coaches, GMs, executives come out and just say, yeah, the Cardinals are in a really good spot because they're going to probably trade the pick. They have a bunch of people calling about pick 4. I mean, what else do you have? Those are the puzzle pieces. And as much as we know, if this is vintage, Rod Graves and, the old Cardinal regime, I think they prioritize Marv over a package of picks. We know, what the former regime, even before Ken Wisnut and company, thought of Larry Fitzgerald. They would have taken Larry over maybe Eli Manning in that draft had they picked first overall. Different regimes obviously draft and develop and build teams differently. Right. We know unequivocally, and this is not an opinion, this is a fact, that this podcast can tell you from talking with people in the situation, out of the situation. Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon believe in line of scrimmage play and believe in multiple picks every year, multiple high-end picks. Line of scrimmage play and defensive and offensive line, pressures, pushing people around. And you saw it on display of how this team envisions winning, like they did against Pittsburgh, where they pushed them around. James Conner had a big day. Of course, Philadelphia. That's how they want a team build. So when we're told, well, Marvin's their number one player, and he's the outlier of how they want a team build, and they're going to make an exception, but now you've got 3+ first rounders potentially being thrown at you. Well, that's why I think we're so adamant every day that this is a reality, guys, because we know unequivocally this is how they want to build their team.
Yeah. This is what Monti Ossenfort views is the path to, I think, finding consistent success in a cap league, right? And they want to be a draft and develop team, and to be the epitome of a draft and develop team, to set yourself up not only for now but in the future with assets, with draft assets, and a future first would be big and maybe too tantalizing for a guy like Monty.
Nightingale Sunset asking if I had frosted tips in 2003 when they drafted Larry. I definitely had frosted tips in and around that time period. So that would have been the spring of 2023. Didn't they draft Larry in 2024? I think it was 2024. That I would have been in high school. I never had frosted tips in high school. I had frosted tips in junior high. So I probably closer to 2021, 2022.
Your mom do it for you?
No.
You did?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
Didn't make it look any better. But yeah, I 2 years too late, Nightingale Sunset, but very close.
Yeah, I wish I could have. Yeah, both the hosts of this podcast were some frosted tip daddies. That's sad. That's bad.
No, it's not. I'm not ashamed of it. Come on.
I did it for state playoffs baseball, and then they threatened to kick us
tips
all out
or
of
you
the
did
school.
You did tips or you did the whole head with bleach?
It was. I mean, it ended up being a little bit more bleach action, but it was supposed to be tips going in.
Okay.
Then they threatened to almost kick us all out of the school if we didn't dye it all back. So then I had to dye my hair back brown.
What kind of school did you go to?
Catholic school. They were not happy.
There you go. Be careful there.
It's the same high school that Bijan Robinson went to.
Wow, how dare they? You went to Bijan
Robinson? You just talked to me, bro?
No, but I thought that was public knowledge. I thought we were celebrating that you played on the same football team as Bijan Robinson. Is that not?
These are facts.
Were you on the same team?
Yeah, I was a senior. He's a freshman.
Wow. Did he start as a freshman?
He was on the freshman team until 7 weeks into the season.
I didn't know any of this.
We used to watch him play on Thursdays, and he would either get pushed out of bounds or score a touchdown every play. And we were like, can we
Damon on as a defensive back trying to tackle a freshman, Bijan Robinson.
They're 14-year-old kids, and they could not take him to the ground. And so we were like, can we get this guy on varsity, coach? And then his first touch, he caught a swing pass, and took it 50 yards to the house. First high school touch. And then we were like, all right, this guy's pretty special.
Yeah, he's going to be the best back in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Highest fantasy pick.
Now that Arthur Smith doesn't have his wretched grasp on him.
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
That menace to fantasy football.
Falcons are going to help the Cardinals this year. I'm predicting. Falcons are going to help the Cardinals at pick 7 or pick 8. Cardinals are going to have pick 8. I'll make a prediction right now. 10 days out, Cardinals are going to trade down, then go back up, pick 8, and get Roma Dunze. That's my prediction right now.
Nightingale Sunset. I can imagine Bo listening to Limp Bizkit.
I did, 100%.
He corrected himself with the correct spelling. No, I was not a big Fred Durst Limp Bizkit.
If you didn't have hot dog flavored water, you're lying to yourself. That album was so good. Nightingale Sunset thinks he's throwing shade. I take these as compliments. These are tremendous. Sunday Cards After Dark are one of my favorite things we do here. Especially 550 people here. Give a like. Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, it was interesting that Devontae, we talked about the Raiders a little bit. Devontae Adams basically came out and gave just his blessing. He wants to stay in Vegas. I don't know if that is any more signs that they feel like they're going to find some sort of solution to quarterback. Like, he's not content with AOC and Gardner Minshew, is he?
I think they probably think that they can be a little bit better version of what the Colts were last year. The problem is the Colts with Minshew played in the AFC South. And Stroud took over. But again, when you're these teams, ask the Cardinals without Kyler Murray in the NFC West. When you're these franchises that play in loaded divisions with Hall of Fame coaches and quarterbacks, and you're trotting out Minshew and you're trotting out Geno, I think Geno Smith's going to fall in this category without Pete Carroll. And then now Kevin O'Connell thinking he can, start Sam Darnold for 10 games and keep his head above water. You're gonna have to around and find out real quick. I'm sorry. You can only be the darling of the NFL for so long as an offensive guru. And I love Antonio Pierce. I think he did a great job last year. But Antonio Pierce starts 0-5 this year with Gardner Minshew. What's the reality of the situation? They're looking at Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid and Sean Payton in your own division. The pressure that these coaches are on. It's why we're so happy the Cardinals opted to stick with Kyler Murray because it's definitely the right move. But you put yourselves in the slums. I mean, like the Cardinals roster is probably comparable to a lot of these teams that are in the mix, right? For one of these QBs. I feel like, imagine if we had to talk ourselves into JJ McCarthy right now. It'd be an unbelievably disappointing situation.
Yeah. Sean jumping into the chat with some outdated material, saying a quarterback that prioritizes Call of Duty. That's some original stuff there from Sean, saying that saying it's the worst ran team in the league. It hasn't paid attention to the Cardinals here lately. They're in good hands as far as the general manager who's calling the shots now.
Sean, I'm assuming you're a Vikings fan. What team trades up 6 weeks before the draft to get pick 23 and then pearl clutches 10 days before and says, actually, we really like pick 23? It's a team that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. That may be balked at an asking price that was realistic and probably set to begin with. I mean, just, again, pull up a chair to the big kids table and try to hang. You're in a division now with 3 franchise quarterbacks, 2 of which in Caleb Williams and Jordan Love, who are going to be good for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, add Jamar Chase to that group. Go get George Kittle at tight end. Doesn't matter. Like if your quarterback play is dog shit, you're going to be 4th place in your division. And Justin Jefferson's going to want a one-way ticket out of town. And Hawkinson's coming off a torn ACL. Again, I don't want to pit ourselves against the Minnesota Vikings. You don't have a quarterback. You do not have a quarterback. Say which one about the Cardinals.
Quarterback purgatory is the worst place to be.
7 and 10 every year. Enjoy it.
Yeah. How about the Cardinals quarterback out at the continues to show his love for UFC? Was out there at the fight last night. He was what did he say? He said his date to UFC could beat anybody's ass. In paraphrasing, what was the tweet?
Yeah, that was basically it. And I was not familiar with her until yesterday. Our thread, our text thread with me, you, Damon, and Shane Diefenbach, and I had to look her up. And she could definitely kick my
ass. Huh?
Sure. Yeah, I don't think they're dating though. People are like they're together. I'm like, I think he's got a serious girlfriend, and she's not a UFC fighter.
All right. And it's not.
I think he's just a really big UFC fan. Can he not be a big UFC fan and go to a fight with another fighter?
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Alex AZ asking if there's a mock draft today. We will not be mock drafting tonight. Apologies, but we will get back and we'll tell you we're going to be mock drafting a little hearts out for the next 9 to 10 days before the real event goes down.
We're trying. Benjamin Albright tentatively will be on the show on Thursday. Benjamin Albright, a week before the NFL draft, he puts out his one and only mock draft the Wednesday before the draft. He's going to come on our show this week. He's going to tell us everything he knows about what the Broncos have offered to the Cardinals. They have made a call to the Cardinals. And he was adamant when he sat on our set, Bo, at the Combine, that the Cardinals were going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. It's MHJ. And I think that's when we felt the best about it. To your point, we left the Combine all smiles, even though Marv didn't want to talk to us there. And then things have changed. They've changed dramatically. He's adamant McCarthy goes top 5. So it's what's the trade partner look like? Is it the Cardinals or it's the Chargers? I can't wait to pick his brain later this week.
Yeah. And I think that the Chargers, it's not going to be that much different. I agree with what Charlie's been saying. I mean, it's getting up the draft board. The Chargers are not naive to the value of being in a position for a team to come up and get that 4th quarterback, because 4 have emerged and really set themselves up to be sought after in this draft. So
let me ask you this.
No discounts, 3 firsts or nothing.
Chessmaster 111 saying, do the Cardinals even want Patrick Surtain? Like, knowing what we know, do you think the Cardinals would want Patrick Surtain?
He's all pro. He's an all pro player.
And he's 23 years, going to be 24 this week.
Yeah. And it's a premium position. We've pointed out, especially when we were talking free agency and looking at, contracts they signed this offseason, contracts they don't have on the books beyond this season outside of Kyler. It's conducive to paying a star at a premium position. If you can get your hands on one, absolutely. I think any team in the league would want Patrick Surtain. And I'm still skeptical that the Broncos would be bold enough to make that deal. But as we've been kind of pointing out with some of these quarter, and the Broncos know it better than anybody. They haven't had a quarterback since Peyton Manning rode off into the sunset after winning the Super Bowl with a really rock solid defense. They understand quarterback purgatory, and they have to get out of it. And that's what we would define as a desperate team. Would they be willing to part ways with a proven commodity, as proven as they get in this league? I think the Cardinals would absolutely take on a guy like that.
Yeah. Sean Payton's a wild card, man. And if he wants JJ McCarthy, and the Walmart people have given him infinite control, and he doesn't really have a GM that he reports to, I mean, I think it's the unique scenario where that something like that could happen. I think everything's lined up. He didn't draft him. They haven't paid him anything yet. We'll see. We're going to pick Benjamin Albright's brain this week. We've got Brian Baldinger returning this week, just a week plus before the NFL draft. Of course, you teased it. Jerzon Johnny Newton is going to work out for teams. We would assume, if you didn't know this or not, we were told while we were at the Combine, no team worked Jerzon Johnny Newton out more, or met with him more, I should say, during the college football season than the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have done their homework and then some on Jerzon Johnny Newton. I asked him to his face at the Combine, Mo. I said, how would it feel to play with the Cardinals, Buda Baker and company? And he lit up. I mean, that's nice. A guy, locked eyes. Like, I don't know if they stick and pick 4 and 27, I don't think he's going to be available. But if that Vikings package happens, I think they do their best to try to secure Jerzon to be a part of their defensive line rotation.
So you think they have him ahead of Byron Murphy at his position?
You know what? The more I think about it, yeah, I think most draft analysts do. I think Byron Murphy, though, I know they like him. He's in the mix, but Newton, to me, when you can excel for a team that's not loaded with, and I like Illinois and what Bielema is doing, but like Newton stood out all year. Byron had momentum. He was alongside Sweat. Defense front seven was very good to push Bama around. I think either would be great additions to the Cardinals.
Yeah. No, I mean, Baldy got him as his top interior defensive lineman in this draft. And just, it's not just about being disruptive and making a quarterback uncomfortable. It's about, getting into the backfield, getting after ball carriers, being great in the run game. And how long has it been since you and I and all the great people in the chat, the Red Sea, have seen, a true force in slowing down the run game?
Yeah. Number 93, number 90 and number 93 with respect to about, a year of really good JJ Watt play. Everybody like this video. Again, the goal on this Sunday Cards After Dark stream to get to 500 likes here to kick off week 1 ahead of the 2024 NFL Combine. We have 1 week away from the start of what is going to be, according to Daniel Jeremiah, the most impactful week 5 to 7 years down the line for our precious Redbirds. Again, drop us a like, leave a comment down below, Bo, as we prep for the week and a half ahead. Plus, we've got a bunch of prospect videos rolling out this week as it relates to 20 to 30 of our favorite prospects that have ties to the Arizona Cardinals, what kind of fit they could be. We're breaking down Jerzon Johnny Newton and more, Bo, and we're excited to share that with you here in the coming days.
No doubt about it. Also, check out PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter and Instagram. If you check out our Twitter page right now, we've got promotion for the Keep It 100 golf tournament that's going down for a second consecutive year. It's going to be a blast. May 10th, get your spot now. It's going to be unbelievable. Keeping it out there. The May 10th scramble at Dobson Ranch Golf Club. Big Drive Energy just coming off an incredible Masters that ended today. PHNX Sports, second annual Keep It 100 Golf Classic, 7:30 shotgun start. Early bird pricing going on right now. Check it out. Go PHNX.com.
Never been a better time to be an Arizona Cardinal fan. Never been a better time to be a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. You are a diehard. I'm diehard for this crew. Over 500 people on a Sunday talking Cardinal football. Thank you to everybody. Drop us a like. We will see you on a football Monday. For Damon Dog, producer extraordinaire, the king, the president of Hold the Line, for my co-host, Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll back on a Monday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.